Hello again, welcome to another edition of Croplife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf here again. Boy, this is something new, you and me together.
In the studio.
In the studio.
We're sorry, we were supposed to do this remotely, but circumstances and scheduling did not work out in our favor, so we're back in the studio.
That means Paul forgot the tripod. so that's kind of, yeah.
Not pointing fingers.
We could have
not pointing fingers.
We could have propped it up on a box, and we've done that before, but it was
yes,
pretty.
We have.
Yeah, it was pretty sad, and you know, it's since we were both going to be here today, we figured what the heck.
Right, but we were both at the Agricultural Retailers Association meeting in Boca Raton, and Paul, your impressions of the meeting? I thought it went pretty well. With about 600 attendees, and everyone there seemed in a fairly good mood.
All I care about was Boca was really cold. That was bad.
We did get there on we landed, it was 80, and the next day the high was in like the 50s. So yeah, it was, and of course none of the buildings have heat in Florida because they're not used to that. So that was really quite interesting. So
sure. Yeah, one of the days we went down to the beach, and we didn't go to the beach, but we went to after dinner we walked up to a boardwalk, and there's this little thing where they make you pay $1 to walk out on the boardwalk, and it's like pitch black, and we asked the guy if we could go out, and he said no.
I do remember that.
You shall not pass, sir. Okay, I can't really see much. 50 cents? No, he wasn't having it.
That's all right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Way diverted. So it was a really interesting meeting. We got to participate in our own roundtable with some retailers. Had some good discussion about the future. I was sure anything big came out of that, other than really just all the things that we've been talking about that are the challenges.
I was going to say, I know some of the folks in the meeting mentioned that they had a discussion on the phone with the folks at EPA regarding the new dicamba labels, and I guess there's still some question marks as to exactly how the wording will apply to the marketplace. Hopefully we'll get that all straightened out here in the month of December, so when we go into 2019 the questions are gone. But it sounds like there'll be going to be a lot of training required and folks getting certification so they can actually not only apply this product but handle it as well.
Yeah, carried over to the meeting. Yeah, I think Darren brought it up at the general session, and like it's a matter of not just a matter of who applies, but then who actually mixes the product and
the handling. Yeah.
And the letter of the law is pretty bizarre in terms of really being onerous on the whole process. It's just kind of silly.
It's something obviously we'll be paying attention to all throughout the next couple of months, I'm sure.
Yeah, has to work that out. And then we I had a very interesting panel discussion with some precision friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was Craig Huyen, I got to say that correctly. I'll be very mad at me.
Sunrise Cooperative.
Sunrise Cooperative here in Ohio, and Andrew Kappas from AgTegra Cooperative in South Dakota. And then we had
Alan Fetters.
They're actually in North Dakota. See?
Oh,
okay. North Dakota, South Dakota.
They're into Dakotas.
They're up there somewhere. And then Alan Fetters from Simplot, and that was a really good discussion. I think just laying out the precision issues we have and trying to identify value and build business. But there's still a lot. We had 5 or 6 really good questions from the audience, and there's still a lot of work to do in trying to establish value and making that work for both for growers and for profitability at the retail level. So this has been just a good general discussion.
Yeah, it was, and I know too they announced at the meeting yesterday morning that we're filming this rather late in the week, but that it looks like there is some agreement in principle on a new farm bill, and they're hopeful that before the lame duck Congress adjourns and the new Congress comes into place in January, that fingers crossed we'll have a new farm bill structure in place for the marketplace.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Wouldn't.
Would be. So there was that, and then we got to hear from Walmart.
Yes, a gentleman at Walmart was talking about the company's efforts to use blockchain in their distribution. And I thought it was interesting, Paul, he gave the example of how while they were starting this project, a gentleman had come in with a container of sliced mangoes and told the group in the room, okay, tell me where this came from, and basically said the stopwatch starts now. And it took them a little more than 6 days to track down, kind of using old-fashioned methods, where the mangoes had originated. And then they tried that same experiment after the blockchain information had been put onto a container of sliced mangoes, and using an app on their phone, it took them 2.2 seconds to determine the point of origin for the mangoes. So nice compression of time. At this point, they're looking at this blockchain effort going back to the farm, the grower, and where the produce is originating. They're going to do leafy greens first, but eventually the gentleman did say they'll start looking for information on what inputs were used to grow those crops, and that would be included in the blockchain information as well. And talking to some retailers at the meeting, they seem to think that that effort will probably see the light of day here in the next 5 years or so. So that looks like it's coming from Walmart for the requirement for their suppliers.
I'm skeptical.
Think it's
Color
taking
me
longer?
skeptical. I think it's going to take a long time.
It might, yeah.
You know, the one thing that was interesting too is he basically admitted it doesn't really necessarily make food safer.
No.
It's still very much, you know, forensics. You know, something happens and you're trying to prevent additional people from getting sick, and that's great. I mean, that's actually progress if you're able to trace that back to the field. And even then, this was a test case, and I think they're trying to figure out how to implement this on a broader scale. But it does show Walmart's kind of staying in its wheelhouse.
Yes.
Like, you know, they control everything from once it leaves the farm gate to their stores, and they want to talk to they want to have that assurance to the consumers that they know where the stuff is coming from and where it's headed. So, you know, it's not like, you know, and for a while they were saying, well, maybe we can cut. We're going to require you to cut your fertilizer use by 20%, which is completely absurd, just to make that kind of a broad statement. And I think they came to their credit, they came to the realization that that's not something they can just click their fingers and make happen.
Correct.
On the other hand, they can control the information flow from the farm to their stores, and that's what they're doing. They're delivering the product to the consumers, and if they're taking more ownership of that, more power to them if they can actually do that. And I'm not sure what it's going to require the growers to do. We don't know. I think that could still be a ways away to get to the produce side of it. But if they can do that, I think it's ultimately a positive for everybody. And you know, they want to deliver safe produce to the consumer. So
right, and the consumers apparently want more information included in what they're buying. So I mean.
I'm not sure the consumers really want it.
Well,
I mean, it's
some of them.
They like to see it. You know, if it's there, it's like cool.
That's true.
But again, you know, as the Walmart gentleman said, it was, you know, you don't want to put some produce that's traced and some that's not and make people choose.
Right. And I thought that was a great point, that they didn't want to make the implication that one was safer than the other just because of the tracking ability. So.
Right. It's not. I mean, the track stuff could be every bit as, you know, at the same level as the stuff that's not tracked. You don't really know, and you can't apply that it's safer because you're not for sure unless you're controlling the, you know, what's happening on the ground, and they're not, and they won't be probably for some time. I would imagine, unless they want to buy all those farms, which
that may be in the offing later. So.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
Well, another thing to share is we found out as we were leaving to come back home from ARA's meeting that the Bayer-Monsanto merger, of course, has been going on for a while and now is basically finalized. And the folks at Bayer have announced that they're going to be paring about 12,000 jobs here over the next few years. Paul, it sounds like most of those job cuts are going to take place outside the U.S. in Germany, but it did say that 4,100 of those personnel cuts will be coming out of the crop science group. So, of course, bad news for our folks out there in the market. Our hearts are with you all.
Yeah, there seems to be plenty of jobs out there and opportunities.
One would hope. But
there, you know, it may not be exactly where they've been, but ag continues to grow. Even with the consolidation,
Sure.
there's opportunities, and that's a big thing. You know, even internally, talking to the roundtable guys, is that there's still difficulty finding those qualified employees.
Yeah,
there's a lot of skills out there.
I was going to say that was mentioned. The commercial drivers. There's a deficit, I think they said, of 63,000 commercial drivers in the U.S. today, and they expect that to go up to over 100,000 over the next few years. So, we all need to start driving trucks. I know you were doing it from Nashville, so I already pitched you as a possible person to second career for you there, Paul.
Great.
Not that I'm trying to get you out of the studio.
So industry needs is another disaster. No.
Okay.
No. I'm a driving disaster. So yeah, I guess the last thing is we you know, it's a great place to see old friends. You know, it's you know, when we go to ARA, we see a lot of folks that we know. Some of them retired and carried on quickly, and we got to see Billy Perkle.
Ah, yeah.
We stopped and had breakfast with him one of the days. He's the he was the enforcer of environmental policy and
Responsible
regulatory
ag, yeah.
responsible ag and so forth, really driving that. He was really helpful during the West Fertilizer incident, when just feeding us information about what the challenges were there. He went from retirement from Nutrien on, he said, on Halloween to November 1st, getting on a plane and seeing his first client. So he's doing regulatory compliance work, and it's interesting. He's kind of finding his way about where the business is going to be heading and how he's going to be helping people. But if there's anybody that can help people with regulatory compliance, it'll certainly be Billy, because he's terrific, and so we hope to keep up with him and see where that goes. But it's interesting, a lot going on, and you know, as always, see lots of friends, and it was a great show.
Yeah, I hate to clue you, Billy, and everyone in the audience, but when I retire, I think I'll stay retired for more than 12 hours. So.
Yeah, I love ag. Ag's great. But, you know. So, is that it?
That's it.
All right, so we'll wrap up this edition of Crop Life Retail Week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.